Silas Blackwood thought he knew the woods, until a creature from its deepest shadows broke every rule of the wild to ask for his help. The sun was low. It painted the Appalachian hills in shades of gold and orange. The air smelled of damp earth and pine. For Silas Blackwood, this was the best time of day. He was 73 years old. His face was a map of his long, quiet life. His evening walk was a habit, a silent talk with the world he knew. He walked along Miller's Road. The pavement was cracked. Old farmhouses sat sleeping by the road. The mailboxes looked like tired skeletons. The road led to the forest. The forest was huge and old. It held many secrets. Silas had always respected the woods. He knew the animals that lived there. He had seen deer in the morning mist. He had heard the deep hoot of an owl in the dark. He once saw a mother bear and her cubs, but he had never seen anything like this. A bobcat stood in the middle of the road. It was where the asphalt met the gravel. It was not running away. It was not scared. It stood perfectly still. Its ears, with their black tufts, were pointed up. Its eyes were fixed on Silas. The bobcat's coat was a mix of brown and black spots. It seemed to glow in the dying light. It was a beautiful, wild thing, the spirit of the forest made real. Silas stopped walking. His hand grew tight on his wooden walking stick. His heart beat a little faster. He felt both awe and fear. Bobcats were ghosts. They lived in the shadows. They did not stand on open roads. But this one did. He took a slow step. His old boots crunched on the gravel. The bobcat did not move. It just watched him. Its eyes were yellow-green. They were smart and intense. They seemed to look right through him. "Well now," Silas whispered. His voice was rough. He did not use it much. "You are a beautiful sight." He took another step, and another. He moved slowly. He did not want to frighten the animal. He thought it would run at any moment. He thought it would vanish into the trees. But it stayed. He got closer. He could see the white fur around its mouth. He could see the dark lines that ran from its eyes. He could see its whiskers twitch. He was only 10 feet away. Then the bobcat did something strange. It sent a chill down Silas's spine. It stood up on its back legs. The movement was smooth and graceful. It almost looked human. It took a small step toward him, then another. Its front paws were held up a little. Silas was frozen. He could not understand what he was seeing. This was not normal. This was not real. The bobcat came closer. It was very delicate. It gently placed a paw on his leg. Silas looked down. He saw its claws were out, but they did not tear his jeans. They rested on the fabric like a feather. It was a touch, not an attack. It was a gesture. The bobcat leaned its head back. Its amazing eyes looked up at him. The look in them was desperate. It was a raw, silent plea. It took Silas's breath away. It was a look that crossed the line between animal and human. It spoke of fear and great need. A feeling of deep sympathy washed over Silas. His caution disappeared. The animal was not a threat. It was asking for help. He slowly raised his hand. He reached out. The back of his fingers touched the soft fur on the bobcat's cheek. The animal pressed into his touch. A low, rumbling sound came from its chest. It was almost a purr. In that quiet moment, a bond formed between them. It was a bond of trust. It was made in the twilight on a lonely road. "What is it, girl?" Silas whispered. His voice was thick with feeling. He stroked the bobcat's head. His rough fingers sank into its soft fur. "What are you trying to tell me?" The bobcat pulled back a little. Its paw fell from his leg. It turned its head. It looked toward the dark wall of trees. Then it looked back at Silas. Its eyes were wide and pleading. It took a few steps toward the woods. It stopped. It looked over its shoulder. The message was clear. "Follow me." A sensible man would have walked away. He would have gone home and had a strong drink. But Silas had always listened to his heart, not his head. He had lived his whole life in these hills. He knew that sometimes the world showed you things you could not explain. Sometimes you had to take a leap of faith. This was one of those times. He nodded. It was like making a promise. "All right," he said softly. "All right, I'm coming. Lead the way." He trusted the strange animal. He followed the bobcat off the road. They went into the dark of the forest. The bobcat moved like a ghost. Its spotted coat blended with the forest floor. It stayed just ahead of him. It kept looking back. It made sure he was still there. The woods got thicker. The trees grew close together. Their branches made a roof that blocked the sky. The air became cool. It smelled of moss and old leaves. Silas walked easily over the rough ground. His walking stick was like a third leg. He knew these woods. He had played in them as a boy. His feet remembered the old paths. They walked deeper and deeper. They went farther than he had gone in many years. The sounds of the road faded away. Now there was only the sound of the wind and the far-off call of a bird. After 10 minutes, the bobcat stopped. She had brought him to a fallen oak tree. It was huge and ancient. Moss and ferns covered its trunk. The bobcat stopped near a thick bush. It had grown around the roots of the old tree. She looked at Silas. She pushed her head toward the bush. A soft, worried sound came from her throat. Silas's heart began to beat faster. He got down on his knees. The damp ground soaked his jeans. He carefully pushed the tangled branches aside. He looked into the dark space under them. His heart dropped. 2 tiny bobcat kittens lay in a hollow in the earth. They were so small. Their spotted fur was wet and dirty. One was shaking badly. Its eyes were squeezed shut in pain. The other lay horribly still. Its breathing was shallow and weak. They both had wounds. There were angry red cuts on their small bodies. One had a very bad bite on its back leg. They looked weak and alone. They were close to death. It was a cruel sight. It was a reminder that the wild world was not always kind. It was clear they had been attacked. Maybe a coyote had found them. Maybe a fox. Their mother had been gone, hunting for food. A rush of adrenaline filled Silas. A strong need to protect them rose in him. He did not think. He just acted. Many years ago, he had retired from the lumber mill. He took a class at the community college. It was a wildlife first aid class. It was something to do. He had always loved animals. He never thought he would need to use what he learned. Not like this. But now he remembered everything. The words from the old book came back to him. They were clear and sharp. "Easy now, little ones," he murmured. His voice was soft and calm. "I'm here to help you." He took off the small backpack he always carried. Inside was a bottle of water. There was half an apple, and there was a soft flannel shirt. He kept it for when the nights got cold. He opened the water bottle. He poured a little water on a clean corner of the flannel. He began to clean the kitten's wounds. He was very gentle. They made weak, sad sounds. The sounds broke his heart. The mother bobcat watched him. She was tense, but she did not try to stop him. She seemed to know he was their only chance. He cleaned the dirt and dry blood away. His large, rough hands were surprisingly gentle. The wounds were deep. He knew they needed a real doctor. But this was a start. He tore a strip from the flannel shirt. He wrapped it loosely around the injured leg of the bigger kitten. He hoped it would give some support. The smaller kitten was barely moving. Its body was cold. Silas knew it was fading. He did not hesitate. He unbuttoned his jacket and his shirt. He carefully picked up the tiny, shivering animal. He tucked it against his chest. He zipped up his jacket. He made a warm, dark pouch for the kitten. He could feel its faint heartbeat against his skin. It was a tiny, precious rhythm. He wrapped the second kitten in the rest of the flannel shirt. He held it safely in his other arm. He looked at the mother bobcat. Her eyes were filled with fear, but there was also a small, new glimmer of hope. "I'm taking them to the vet," he said. He spoke as if she understood every word. "Dr. Collins will know what to do. You can follow me if you want." He turned and started back through the woods. He moved as fast as his old legs could carry him. He was careful with every step. He focused only on the tiny lives in his arms. The forest seemed to hold its breath. The trees stood like silent watchers. He could hear the soft sound of paws behind him. The mother bobcat was following, a quiet, worried shadow in the dark. When he came out of the trees, the sun was gone. Stars were starting to appear in the sky. He could see the lights of Laurel Creek in the distance. They were a sign of hope. He did not stop to rest. He started to jog. His lungs burned. His mind was a silent prayer. He had to get them there. He had to. The Laurel Creek Veterinary Clinic was a small, friendly building. Its lights shone a warm yellow on the empty street. Dr. Sarah Collins was a kind, smart woman in her 40s. She was known for her love of all animals, big and small. Silas burst through the door. A little bell rang, announcing his wild arrival. Dr. Collins looked up from her desk. Her look of surprise changed to professional concern. She saw Silas. He was messy and out of breath. He was clutching a bundle of red flannel, and she saw the shape of a small animal inside his jacket. "Silas, what on earth?" she started to say. He cut her off. "It's kittens, Sarah," he panted. His voice was rough. "Bobcat kittens. They were attacked. They're in bad shape." Dr. Collins needed no more words. She was on her feet. Her calm, strong presence filled the room. "Bring them through. Now." She led him to the bright examination room. Silas carefully placed the flannel-wrapped kitten on the cold steel table. Then, even more carefully, he took the smaller, colder one from inside his jacket. Dr. Collins's face became serious. She saw how bad their injuries were. She worked quickly and skillfully. Her hands were gentle but sure. She checked their vital signs. She cleaned the wounds with antiseptic. She prepared tiny shots of antibiotics and pain medicine. "You did a good thing, Silas," she said. She kept her eyes on the kittens, cleaning the wounds, keeping this little one warm. "You may have saved its life." Silas watched. His hands were clenched. He felt helpless now. The kittens were in better hands. He felt a presence beside him. He turned. His wife, Eleanor, was there. She must have heard the noise from their house next door. Her face was full of worry. He had forgotten to call her. As Dr. Collins worked, there was a soft scratching at the clinic's front door. Silas went to look. Through the glass, he saw the mother bobcat. She was standing on the doormat. Her nose was pressed to the glass. Her eyes were fixed on the light from the examination room. She had followed him all the way. His heart ached for her. He opened the door a little. "She's here," he said softly to Dr. Collins. "The mother. She won't leave." Dr. Collins stopped her work. She came to the door. She looked at the bobcat. She saw its steady, desperate gaze. Then she looked back at the tiny, fragile bodies on her table. A look of deep compassion softened her face. In all her years as a vet, she had never seen anything like this. "Well," she said with a small, sad smile, "I can't leave a worried mother out in the cold." She made a choice that was against all the rules. "Bring in one of the large dog crates from the back, Silas. We'll set her up in the corner. She deserves to be with her babies." So, the strangest patients were checked into the Laurel Creek Veterinary Clinic. Silas helped set up the crate. It had soft blankets and a bowl of water. They gently led the mother bobcat inside. She went without a fight. Her eyes never left the table where Dr. Collins was working to save her kittens. The next few hours were tense. Dr. Collins stitched the cut on the larger kitten's leg. She gave both of them fluids. The smallest one, the one Silas had held against his heart, was still very weak. Its life was hanging by a thread. Silas and Eleanor stayed late. They kept a quiet watch with Dr. Collins. The only sounds were the hum of machines and the worried breathing of the mother bobcat. Days passed. The clinic had a new, strange routine. The larger kitten started to get better quickly. Eleanor named him Grit. He was a tough little animal. He hissed at Dr. Collins when she changed his bandage. But he started eating, and he began to move around his little cage. The smaller one was a different story. Silas named her Whisper. Her recovery was slow and hard. For 3 days, she was close to death. Dr. Collins fed her with a dropper every 2 hours. Silas would often come and sit by her small incubator. He would talk to her in a low, soft voice. He urged her to keep fighting. The mother bobcat watched everything. She was a silent, strong presence. She seemed to calm the kittens. When she made a soft chuffing sound, they would stir. It was as if her voice reassured them. Dr. Collins was moved by the little family. She was touched by the mother's amazing love. She let her out of the crate for short visits. The mother would go to her kittens' cages. She would lie down as close as she could. She would groom them through the bars with her rough tongue. Her low purr was a constant, comforting sound. News of the Bobcat family spread through Laurel Creek. People would stop by the clinic. They came to ask how the kittens were. They brought donations of food and old blankets. The story of the desperate mother who asked a human for help touched everyone. It was a story of courage, trust, and a mother's powerful love. Silas was at the clinic every day. His evening walks now ended at Dr. Collins's door. He would sit with the kittens. Sometimes he read to them from an old book of poems. His rough voice filled the quiet room. He felt a deep connection to these wild animals. He felt a responsibility for them. They had trusted him. He would not fail them. After 2 long weeks, Whisper finally turned a corner. One afternoon, while Silas was there, she stood up. Her legs were wobbly. She took her first few steps. She let out a tiny, squeaky meow. Tears came to Silas's eyes. He looked over at the mother bobcat. For a moment, he was sure he saw a look of pure thanks in her intelligent, yellow-green eyes. The kittens grew stronger. Their wild, playful nature started to show. They tumbled and fought with each other. Their tiny hisses and growls filled the clinic. The examination room had become a bobcat nursery. Dr. Collins knew they could not stay forever. They were wild animals. They belonged in the forest. She and Silas started planning their release. They called the state wildlife department. They found the perfect place. It was a large, protected state forest. It was many miles from Laurel Creek. The forest had a healthy ecosystem. Most importantly, it had no major predators. It was a safe place, a place where the Bobcat family could live their lives in peace. The day of the release was both happy and sad. A small crowd of townspeople came to the clinic to say goodbye. Silas carefully put the kittens into a carrier. They were now strong and healthy. Dr. Collins gently coaxed the mother into another one. The drive to the state forest was quiet. They drove to a secluded spot. It was a clearing filled with sunlight, surrounded by tall pine trees. Silas opened the carriers. The kittens jumped out right away. They were curious, not scared. They started to explore. They chased butterflies. They pounced on fallen leaves. The mother bobcat came out more slowly. She stepped out her crate. She stood for a moment. Her nose twitched. She smelled her new home. She looked at her kittens. Then she turned. She looked at Silas. She walked toward him. And for the second time, she stood up on her back legs. She placed her paw gently on his leg. She held it there for a long moment. Her gaze was steady and clear. It was not a plea this time. It was a thank you. It was a farewell. Then, with one last soft chuff, she turned. She called to her kittens. They came running. Together, the 3 of them vanished into the deep green forest. Their spotted coats blended into the shadows until they were gone. Silas stood there for a long time. He listened to the silence of the woods. The space where the bobcats had been was now filled with a feeling of peace. He felt a hand slide into his. It was Eleanor. "You did a good thing, Silas," she said softly. He nodded. There was a lump in his throat. He was just a quiet man from a quiet town. But for a few amazing weeks, he had been part of something incredible. He had been trusted by a wild creature. He had held the fragile pulse of life in his hands. He had seen the unbreakable power of a mother's love. As he and Eleanor walked back to the car, Silas knew he would never forget the bobcat with the intelligent eyes. The encounter had woken something up inside him. It was a reminder that the world was full of wonder, and that sometimes the deepest connections are the ones that have no words. The fear he had felt in that dark forest had become a warm memory. It would glow inside him for the rest of his life. It was a silent, secret story, a story shared between an old man and a wild, beautiful soul.